cards like a fire elemental, or maybe a class was very prolific in like 4 mana cards and that sort of thing, and you can kind of expect that there's going to be a high percent chance that you're going to get some of those. But I always thought that when you're playing arena, it really is take it like you kind of have to like based on what you're seeing right this moment. But you're basically saying the opposite though.
Well, I'm just saying that you have to roll with what you get. I mean, some like in this situation, right? We're looking at a lot of 5 drops that are actually fairly good. Like our turn 5 is Slot Spells, Kodo, Tiger, a lot of utility, even Doomhammer. Like our turn 5 is looking super strong. Adding a mercenary is not going to make our turn 5 a lot stronger. We're looking at a Dragonling mechanic, which is not a great 4-drop. Like, so the thing about the Dragonling mechanic is that it's not a lot better to cast the Dragonling mechanic than, say, just 2-drop Totem. Like, we're not gaining a lot picking the mechanic up than just, like, casting a Totem and a 2-drop or something. So I'm going to be hard-pressed to pick either one. I honestly, I probably end up going with the... I don't know. Like, I could take the mechanic here, saying, like, we got Double Giant. I think since we have the Double Giants and the War Golem, I'm probably taking the mechanic just because there's so much value in getting into super late game for us. If we didn't have the 2 Giants, I'd probably end up with the Mercenary, just hoping to trade well. Like, I mean,
Okay.
the point I want to make is that I think sometimes you shouldn't be afraid. I mean, you shouldn't be afraid of having a deck just fail in the arena.
Yeah.
And sometimes trying to salvage a bad draft is just, it's better to like say I'm gonna play like something like a mercenary and just to hell with my curve and just basically hope to steal a few games from having my cards come out perfectly. Like that's better than say try and make the best of it and have a bunch of games drag out into nothing. Like for example, if your early game is weak and you don't have any big bombs, you're just gonna spend 10 minutes doing nothing and then lose. So sometimes I just say like, well, my early game is weak, but hey, if I get a perfect like
Yeah, I know what you mean.
even with 1 2-drop, 1 3-drop, and 1 4-drop, you can still curve out perfectly, right?
Yep.
So instead of adding more mediocre early cards to that kind of concoction, I just rather say like, well, I'm just going to pick the big bomb here and hope my early game curves out perfectly, and just be a bit hopeful. And you're still going to beat some opponents who also have a bad early game if your bombs are just better. Anyway, though, yeah, I'd probably take the mechanic in this particular, but I feel like most of the time I'm taking the mercenary here. Like if we didn't have that many 5-drops, I'd probably like 1 less 5-drop, I'm taking the mercenary. And particularly because something like this, right? Like I don't really want the walk-in. We got a lot of like things that do 2 damage.
Right. Yep.
We have 2 weapons. We already have a walk-in. I probably want the Stormwind Knight, but now I'm not feeling so good about the other 4-drop because those now we have 2 terrible 4-drops, and this is like, meh. So I take the Stormwind Knight, and if these cards came in the order, if I had the Stormwind Knight, I would have taken the Mercenary. Let's put it that way. That's that close.
All right, here we go. So Bloodlust.
And then we go for, yeah.
This is a card that I know some folks love and some folks don't. So how do you feel about it?
I think that some people look at Bloodlust and they'll say, "Oh, it's a win more card. It only works if you have minions on the board. You're probably winning, so Bloodlust is only going to make you win more." The way I see it, Bloodlust is like I said earlier, it's fine to have some dead cards. Like if you lose the game and Bloodlust in your hand the entire game, even if Bloodlust was another card, you probably weren't doing spectacularly well. Like, keep in mind, you can play Bloodlust on 2 minions and it's still 6 damage. Like even if it's just 2 minions on the board, it's still 6 damage for 5 mana. And playing it in 3 minutes is value. And sometimes people maybe just hang on to it. Like I will play Bloodlust on like 2 or 3 minions on the board sometimes just to trade. And that's fine. Like you can, if you have 2 totems on the board, your opponent plays 2 minions with 3 health. Just Bloodlust and get a 2 for 1. That's fine too. But the way I look at Bloodlust is it'll just steal some games. Like we have a lot of big drops in this deck, but if we didn't have the big drops, if we just had more terrible early game, like if we just had a bunch of crappy early game drops with no particular synergy or value, Bloodlust is just going to win like 2, 3, 4 games for us. Like that's just how I look at it. It's just going to steal some games, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's what it does. It just steals a game. You're like, your board fills up because your opponent's early game kind of didn't work out. And you're not, like, sometimes you find yourself on turn 5 with like 6 minions on the board just because your opponent didn't do anything. And you know that if the game goes another 5 turns, then your opponent's going to clear the board, put up big taunts, and just, you're going to lose, right? But, hey, Bloodlust, steal the game. So right. I like exactly one Bloodlust in the deck.
Okay, so in this case we pick Bloodlust?
Yeah. If it was Bloodlust versus Firely, then I'd be in the tank, basically.
Yeah. Okay, all right, so we got either 2, 3 here. We got one of the new Nax cards in Stable Ghoul. How's that? It's pretty bad against Shaman, right? Because it damages all your totems
I
too.
mean, the advantage. So the good thing about it is that it can trade with all other 2-drops. It's gonna pretty much have. It has fine trades against all 2-drops. Like it will trade out with all 2-drops and actually has favorable trades with a couple of 3-drops. Even like just the Sky the Crusader really.
Right.
I don't like to play it most of the time because, like, I want my deck to work when I'm ahead. Like, that's how I think. Like, basically, I want to win when I'm winning, and I don't want cards I can't play when I'm winning. And the problem with unstable goal is oftentimes you find yourself in a situation where if your other picks are good and your play is good, you have a couple of minions on the board, your opponent has an empty board. Like, you don't want to put an unstable goal down because you're just going to enhance his board clearing capabilities. It's like now his Flame Strike does 5 damage for no good reason.
That's true. That's true.
Or if he plays, like, if he has a minion on the board and you play the unstable goal to taunt it, like, all you're doing is just spreading out the damage. Like, it absorbs 3 damage, and then it does 3 damage to all your minions, and like 1 damage to 3 of your minions. Like, you didn't really achieve anything by playing it, is oftentimes what I feel like.
Right.
Like, I'd rather have something like a Brewmaster, because then I can, like, trade my minion in, brew it back, or just Brewmaster on turn 2 for more damage. Sun Cleric is the kind of card is probably the most swingy card in terms of value, because if you look at Sun Cleric, all you get is a 4/3 if you look at the total value of it,
right?
Which is not exciting as a 3-drop. The advantage is, of course, that the 1/1 can sort of attack right away. It's like a 4/3, but you get like a 1/1 haste kind of like idea going on. The problem with it is if your early game is weak, if you have 0 1-drops, if you have very few 2-drops, then it's a terrible 3-drop, meaning that if you're looking at a hand like Shattered Sun Cleric blank, and you're looking at mulliganing a hand like that, do you keep the Sun Cleric speculating you pick up 2-drops, and if you don't, then you have a card, and you don't even have a 3-drop. Like, so if I have a lot of 2-drops, particularly like the best is when you play a 2/3 on turn 2, and then you buff it with the Sun Cleric, because that has a favorable trade against all enemy 2-drops. That's like your best opening. Is like 2/3, your opponent plays a 2-drop, you Sun Cleric it, trade into his. Now you have 2 minions on the board, he has 0. Like, that's your ideal opening with the Sun Cleric. So if I'm playing Warlock, if I have a lot of 1-drops, I tend to pick it. I actually tend to forgo picking it. Like, I feel like people overvalue it.
Really?
And I will sometimes pick a Brewmaster over it, a lot of the time.
All right, so what about here?
On Shaman, you're always going to have a totem. Like, this is probably like up in there. I think it's close. I think it's just like you should be careful about automatic picking Sun Cleric, and particularly Shaman is a weird like this. I mean, our deck is just kind of bad for Shaman draft. Let's just go there. But if I'm playing Druid, for example, and my plan is to skimp early game and even play like acceleration early game, like you're planning to get through early game with Innervates and Wild Growths,
right,
and a couple of 2-drops, I would pretty much never pick Sun Cleric and Druid, because my plan is to like not do much early and then clear the board with Keepers and Tasdengos and Swipes, or just accelerate into a 5-drop, like Innervate out a Druid of the Claw. Basically, I'm not planning on playing a 2-drop unless I absolutely must. Like, if I had, I'd probably, like, when you play Druid draft, you have like a couple of, an ooze or 2, and you have like 1 or 2 power of the wild, and maybe you get forced into a Brewmaster pick. But that's going to be like, that's going to be your 2-drops. You're going to have like, you're not planning on actually establishing a board presence on turn 2, so I don't like the Sun Cleric. Unless I'm planning on establishing an early board presence in this kind of deck, yeah.
Okay.
Again, I'd flip a coin, take a Sun Cleric or Panda.
I would just take the Panda.
I talk more than
yeah.
Basically, yeah.
Okay, this is not the greatest choices here.
No, here just you sigh and you look at the. I mean, sometimes like
it's good to see these bad choices.
You look at
actually,
the curve. Like, I always hate when I say, "Oh, you look at the curve and you have no 6-drop, you take Lord of the Arena," because really it has nothing to do with the curve. Like, I just look at Raid Leader and go, well, it's a terrible play on turn 3. If you didn't play, like, you don't want to play a Raid Leader on turn 3. You don't want to play a Voodoo Dog on turn 1.
Right.
You feel okay playing Lord of the Arena on turn 6, but you're not happy about it. Like,
yeah, and this kind of gets back to
things that happen.
This gets back to
I'd probably take it because it's still a big taunt. Like, I mean, you have the double slot spells, all right?
Yeah.
We have a lot of big 6-drop bombs that our opponent has to deal with. Like, by the time our opponents get through like the slot spellers and all the 5-drops, the kitty cat. Like, a good advantage here having the kitty cat is, like, if we play the kitty cat can take care of a lot of things that will kill out of the arena.
Right.
So we have a little bit of an advantage there if you get to curve out turn 5, 6 with those. So also, just the fact that it says taunt is actually a bit of value, because one of the ways to win with Molten Giant is to play Molten Giant plus a taunt. Like that's what you want to do. You
Right.
never want to just dropping Molten Giant pretty much means you are like gonna die.
You're gonna die the
turn
next
or
turn,
just
yeah.
play a taunt or
Absolutely.
something.
Right.
So just
Okay, so
it's
go
gonna
Lord of the
steal
Arena.
a game with a Molten Giant. Like that's the value of it.
Got it.
You're not happy.
Oh, how about this one? This is a nice one.
Well, some people you can make a case for Bloodsail Corsair. I think Mana Wraith is like a slightly underrated card in the arena in the sense that it's
Yeah.
a 2/2 for 2, right? Like the point of our early game, particularly on a class like Shaman in particular, the point of our early game is to trade our opponent's early game. Like that's really it. So like basically like Mana Wraith can just mean we pick like what you do with Mana Wraith is you pick one less 2-drop. Now this late in the draft we don't really have that option because we already have more 2-drops than we really want probably. But that's of course the nature of the draft. Like we don't want to be picking a Mana Wraith here. We'd pretty much take anything over it, but we'll take it here because it's still a play on turn 2 that's going to like if your opponent opens up with like coin 2-drop, like 3/2, you just play a Mana Wraith and they trade and then that's fine.
Okay. Well, all right.
Nothing wrong with that.
Let's
And
go
sometimes
Mana
your
Wraith.
opponent doesn't have a drop early, then you play a Mana Wraith and your opponent still doesn't have a drop because if he didn't last turn, then he still doesn't, and then you get like one turn ahead. Like you can even buy a bit of tempo.
Right. Right.
If your opening hand is like Mana Wraith 2-drop blank, and your opponent doesn't play something, then you play the Mana Wraith. Presumably, since your opponent didn't play something last turn, he still doesn't play something. He may have removal, yes or no. But if he doesn't have something, then you play your other 2-drop. Yes, it costs 3 mana, but you were still going to play your 2/2-drops, right? I mean, that was your plan. Your plan was to go 2-drop, 2-drop anyway. So now you just go 2-drop, 2-drop. The Mana Wraith didn't hurt your curve. Presumably, it hurt your opponent's curve. And then you just gain a little bit of board advantage. It's fine. I don't mind it. I basically you pick it when you're forced to, but you can.
Yeah.
It's like it's a card you pick when you're forced to, but it can actually, it has a potential upside.
Yeah. Sure.
And Spellbreaker is a card I value extremely highly. I will pick.
Really?
I'm always picking Spellbreaker over all 2-drops. That's not close.
Okay. Explain. I mean, silence is that important in
Silence
arena?
is card advantage. I mean, you silence a card from your opponent that's going to draw a card. You basically whether your silence denies them a card draw or gains your card, like whether the minion says draw a card or make your opponent draw one less card is effectively the same card swing, right? So when you silence something
Yeah.
on your opponent that was going to draw him a card, he lost the card. Like it doesn't feel that way when you silence a loot hoarder. It doesn't feel like you cost your opponent a card, but you did. Like now his loot hoarder actually just became a 1/2,
One
a
mana.
2/1
Yeah.
drop. Like he lost that card now. He's going to take him one extra turn to draw into that card that's going to beat you. Like maybe it's a mage that's looking for a flame strike, and now it's going to take him one more turn to reach the flame strike. That might buy you enough time. Plus, I mean, there's always going to be something worth silencing. I mean, the one thing you can always be sure about in the arena is there's always value for silence.
Right.
It's just always going to find something that you
Okay.
need to silence.
That's cool. Yeah, I always thought that silence wasn't quite as important in arena, but it sounds like it is.
I'd say it's
valuable.
more important because you in constructed you sometimes have archetypes of decks that have very little minions or interactions with the board and just don't care about silence. Like
Right.
say something like a freeze maze or miracle rogue. Like they don't really put that many minions on the board, and the ones that put on the board they don't really care if you silence them. So you're running this swingy game of sometimes it's amazing when it silences an egg, and sometimes it does nothing when basically your opponent doesn't play a minion. Whereas in the arena, it's like everyone's playing arena mid range. There's always something to get. It's like why Black Knight is the best legendary in the arena. It's because everyone has a taunt. Like in constructed, half the decks don't have taunts. The other half has a lot of taunts. Right now, everyone has taunts.
Well, everybody has
Assume,
taunt now.
But
so-
but that's a different metagame
Yeah.
experience. Like that
Sure,
depends on the
sure.
metagame, right? Whereas like in the arena, it's like, well, everyone kind of has taunts in the deck somewhere. Like just because sometimes the taunt is the best card out of 3.
Yeah. Okay, well, how about this one?
Archmage's War Golem. I mean,
got
I
so
say I
many
don't pick
biggies,
for the
man.
curve.
Yeah.
This is probably one of those situations where I kind of look at it and I go like, well, is there more of a chance of getting to play the War Golem on turn 6 or the Archmage or the War Golem on turn 7 and the Archmage turn 6? Do I feel better? Do I have any spells? Like, is my opponent going to be afraid of spell damage? If we don't even benefit from the spell damage, I probably take the War Golem because I'm realizing I don't want to play other cards. Really? Like, so I would rather have the bigger cards, basically on the theory that if I'm playing these cards, it's because the game is going really long. Like,
Yeah.
these cards are not. We're not playing this card if we're winning early. Like we're playing these
Sure.
cards if we somehow manage to stabilize and the game is going super long. So I just take the bigger one because why not?
Okay. All right, Feral Spirit. First time we've seen this.
But it's
hand
honestly
trick.
close because if you look at the curve, we have. I guess we had the same drops. Didn't we have like 2-6 or 2-7? Yeah, it's
Yeah,
fine.
oh, you can look
We
right
have
here.
two
We
beats.
have two
Yeah.
6 drops already.
It's one of
yeah.
those things. That's like a few times where I'll do like curve balancing, possibly. Feral Spirit. I mean, a Feral Spirit and Sur Drake. They're both amazing cards.
Mm-hmm.
Just ignore the fact that Sur Drake says spell damage. It's 5 mana 4/4 that draws your
Right.
cards.
We have no spells anyway, so it's like
Yeah, like, even without spells, it's one of the best cards in the arena. Like you can win on the back of just casting it. The tempo loss is minimal. I mean, basically 4/4 spell damage +1. That's a 4-drop. So you lose 1 mana worth of tempo, which is not unimportant. And sometimes the board state is not great for a Azure Drake. Like oftentimes, what happens when you play Azure Drake is your opponent is going to start hitting your face to some extent. Like your opponent has a minion on the board, you play a Azure Drake, his minion is going to be bigger, and he's just going to say he's either going to kill the Azure Drake and then have a minion on the board that's going to swing in your face next turn, or he's going to just ignore the minion and swing in your face. But it's okay if your deck has a lot of like ways of stabilizing with face damage. One of those ways is Feral Spirit. Is like one of the best cards. Like one of the most underutilized shaman strategies, if you have a bad opening hand, is just Feral Spirits on turn 3 and just go like, if you have like 2-drop and Feral Spirit, you oftentimes golden all the way until turn 5. Like you just go Feral Spirit, 2-drop, Spirit, Hero Power, and now you're already at turn 5.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That's a fine opening strategy. It can really, and you look at our 4-drops, they're not exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like Feral Spirit for these just to salvage our terrible early game. And of course, like sometimes you don't need to on turn 3. Like no problem saving it, but
Yeah. Okay, well, that completes the draft, and the draft did take some time. Bob did an excellent job of explaining each of the cards, which is great because this is our first time. This is our first episode with Arena, but unfortunately, I think the time-wise, I don't know if we can do another one unless we just like really haul through it. We probably won't.
As I said, I talk until someone stops me.
Which is cool. That's no problem.
Your fault.
So why don't we let's see. Do we have time for? I'm trying to see if we have time for an in-game one so that we could actually try to run it through. Well, let's
try and talk a bit less.
let's try an in-game one.
And I do this sort of like I just
Yes.
backseat. I just
say if it's right or wrong type of thing. All right, let me
just do some backseat gaming.
There we go.
Criticize all your decision making. Plus, I mean, as I said, I don't claim my decisions are correct. I think that's the first stance. Like, if you want to get good at if you want to get good at games like Hearthstone, you have to be prepared to say like, you have to be prepared to just make a decision without necessarily like getting married to it, or attached to it, or some way feeling like this is the right decision. I'm always making that decision. Like I just kind of go like, this is what I feel like, and then I will. If you come ask me next, if I had to do the exact same draft, the exact same cards next week, I'm sure I would pick differently.
Yeah.
It would be an interesting experiment to do, honestly. Like if you had someone on, like, and they did a draft with you, if you have the way to save the actual picks, like, imagine having someone on a couple of months later and having them do the exact same draft and see how close they get.
Yeah, we can actually do that. I mean, we can actually do that. That's
that one wasn't so interesting. There wasn't so many close decisions, but it's just like one of those. Like, I wonder how much I actually change my opinions over time, because I do feel I do a lot.
All right, here we go. So, all right, so we're in game. We're gonna actually build a deck, and hopefully we'll be able to play this deck a little bit later today or tonight. But okay, Druid, Rogue, Hunter. Druid or Rogue, basically. Let's do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not particularly experienced at Hunter. I feel like my Hunter is a class where they don't have the highest. They have one of the lower win rates in the arena, so it's expected. But I still feel like I'm doing worse than I should, and I don't know where. Like I'm freely admitting I don't really know where the flaw in my Hunter play is.
I know people love
is.
Unleash.
It's just somewhere.
Yeah.
I feel like the web spinner made them a little bit more
yeah,
consistent, because they're very nice to pick up. But like you get your beast synergy a bit more consistently, because you can sort of pick the web spinner without suffering. It's a way of getting beast without suffering card disadvantage, which is nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, though.
Let's go.
Druids, your choice.
Let's
basically.
go Rogue. I mean, again, I think I probably played Druid the most, so let's go Rogue.
Yeah, same. I feel Rogue is like the highest win rate, or the second highest win rate in the arena. I mean, it's just
Oh man.
it's one of the better classes in the arena. So and here, I mean, that's an easy Blood Knight.
Yeah,
and
it's
I'm
an
even
easy
happy.
Blood Knight. Exactly.
Yeah, and it also goes with what we want to do with Rogue, which is early tempo. Blood Knight is best early, and there you got a tough
Between these
decision.
two,
I mean, you got
yeah.
the Deadly Poison, the Harvest Golem. Deadly Poison is always it's a great chance for 2-for-1. It's the kind of card you really, really want. The only problem is Harvest Golem is the kind of card you want unlimited amounts of. Whereas Deadly Poison, Deadly Poison is like probably want 2 of them and then you don't want more. I feel like if you don't get, sometimes when I'm in this situation, I say like, well, what if this is the only time I see both? Which one do I want? Well, I probably want the Deadly Poison because, I mean, that's just like how you win. At the same time, Harvest Golem is like, I feel so good when I play Harvest Golem in turn 3. It's like, I just... That's it. I'm controlling the board.
Best, yeah, it's one of the best value cards too. So, let's just go Harvest Golem.
You can go either one. Like, I'd probably take the Deadly, but just because it's a guaranteed it's a guaranteed 1-for-1 and probably a guaranteed 2-for-1. It also like it's sure. Mind, like, and now get another Harvest Golem. I probably, honestly, like Harvest Golem Mercenary is close as well because we're gonna have Well, Rogue we have the ability to support the Mercenary with removal, like Assassinate and Sap and all those things. So oftentimes, like what you can do on like Mercenary is great if we can support it with just spells. Like you just play the Mercenary, and if your opponent plays another minion, you just like if you have Assassinate or Sap, like you only need to swing face like twice with a Mercenary before he's low enough to consider like just winning the game. On the other hand, Harvest Golem is great for showing up early game. I'd probably take the Harvest Golem. You're gonna see some other big bombs. I think it's close though. Yeah. I think it's really close. Like, I really like the Mercenary and Rogue. But yeah, the Harvest Golem is fine.
Okay.
But the thing about Deadly Poison is essentially Deadly Poison is two early drops, right? Like if that's the only thing we ever see early, then it's essentially like the equivalent of having 2 drops early game. Like an opening hand of just Deadly Poison is going to stabilize until turn 4. That's the point I'm making.
Yeah, I gotcha. All right, so we got not the greatest of picks here. Abusive is
actually Razorfen Hunter is one of the 3 drops I value pretty much as high as the Harvest Golem.
Wow,
it essentially is a. It's basically
I guess
Harvest
it is.
Golem.
I guess it is a Harvest Golem. You just get it right away. That's true.
People just don't think about it because they're like, oh, a mage is gonna kill my 1/1, or oh, they're gonna kill the 3/3 and then only have a 1/1 instead of a 2/1. It's like, no, you get them right away. So if the people don't kill them, then they're like.
That's a good
basically
point.
what the plan of the goal of your 2 first turns in the arena. Like, what are you trying to do on your turn 2 and 3 in the arena? Well, you're trying to kill your opponent's 2 and 3 drop. Pretty much Razorfen Hunter has fine traits against all 3 drops. Like, think about all 3 drops in the arena.
Yeah.
Razorfen Hunter trades fine against them.
Right, so let's go there.
It trades advantageously against all 2 drops. And the goal of your 2 first turns is really just having minions stick around on the board so that your big Dark Iron Dwarfs, your Defender Vargas has stuff to do.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll go with that. All right, next up we got Shieldmaster looks... actually, Stormwind Champion's quite good in Arena too, right?
Stormwind Champion is really good in the arena, probably a bit less so on Rogue because we tend to want to be early tempo. Shieldmaster, on the other hand, is not really early tempo. This is again like you got the Mercenary pick, they got the Mercenary Harvest Golem earlier. Like, well, sometimes I cry and take the Shieldmaster. Sometimes I feel adventurous and take the Stormwind Champion. I feel like this is less close. Like, I would probably, if I was going to make a big drop over an early drop, I would take the Mercenary over the Harvest Golem more than I would take the Stormwind over the Shieldmaster. I feel like I like the Mercenary on Rogue more than I like the Stormwind Champion. Okay. And I like the Shieldmaster more than I like the Harvest Golem. So I think if we did the other pick previously, we should be consistent and go with the Shieldmaster.
Okay.
But I don't mind like those speculative high drops.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Spiteful is a nice solid minion at 5. I mean, that's what I would totally go for here.
That's exactly the point. Like some people actually miss the point that it just does 5 mana 4/6. Like sometimes you can pick Spiteful Smith on like a mage and feel good about it. Like just you feel good about the numbers, and you're playing a 6 health minion on turn 5 with 4 attack. You feel good about that. On Rogue, the fact that we always have the potential of a weapon, like just even our hero power becoming 3 attack is a real threat to like that's card advantage play, right? Like you played that. If your opponent has like any minion with 3 health or less, you gain the card by pressing hero power. Like that's amazing.
This card has probably the most synergy with Rogue.
Yeah.
Here we go. Let's go with that.
But I would play it even with weaponless classes sometimes, just because it's even a good minion in itself. It's gonna draw removal.
Assassinate. I mean, that's complete border removal.
No-brainer.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer here.
I mean, you assassinate. Yeah, you pretty much pick as many of those as you can. I mean, your opponent's gonna have minions that cost 5 or more. Sometimes even just assassinating 4 drops is fine. Yeah. But you're pretty much always gonna be able to like just straight up killing a minion is strong. Like, there's always gonna be something to assassinate. Your first 4 assassinates are probably gonna find the target. No problem.
Definitely. Okay, backstab. Does backstab have as much
Backstab-
value in
Oh
arena
yeah,
as
backstab has
constructed?
amazing value.
Okay.
Backstab has even more value in the arena because people are playing 3/2s in the arena,
Yeah.
like a lot. So backstab basically just buys you 2 mana at the point in the game where it's most crucial to buy 2 mana.
Nice.
Yeah, that is why the backstab is part of the reason. Backstab and deadly poison are the reason why Rogue's win rate is the second highest, the highest in the arena. Is basically because they start out winning on turn 2. Like they get ahead. Like if the opening hand is backstab 2-drop, you can't like. They're just ahead on turn 2.
Yeah. I mean, I would just worry about running out of cards, like when I'm playing, because with backstab, you are double playing, right?
Well,
I mean,
well, think about it this way: like you gain your card. Like sometimes people think about card draw as a text that says draw a card, when in reality, like card advantage is just card advantage. Like a minion that says a 4/6 on turn 5, a 6/7 on turn 6. That's card advantage. Like sometimes, like people forget that a card like Spiteful Smith that can make a hero power trade for minions, a card like Deadly Poison that's going to 2-for-1, a card like Boulder Fist Ogre that's likely to 2-for-1. Like
Yeah.
that's card advantage. If you have a lot of those cards, you don't need to draw cards. Then you can afford to play the backstabs anyway.
yeah,
plus-
sure.
Plus, if you never run out of cards, like just like I said, like if you never lose to tempo, your deck is not big enough. If you never run out of cards, your deck is not fast enough.
Yeah, fast
Like those are good things.
That's
to
a
say,
good
like,
point.
Some percentage of the time you should run out of cards, and that is exactly like that. If that doesn't happen, you're not pushing enough. You're not pushing enough tempo in your deck if you're not running out of cards some of the time. And Hunted Creeper over pretty much all vanilla 2-drops is no brainer. It's again like the goal of our turn 2 and 3 is make minions stick on the board on turn 4.
Yeah.
This is what this does.
Okay. So Haunted Creeper here.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah, not close.
yeah, not even close. Ooh, okay. So there's the Watcher that you were talking about before, but
Yeah, I mean,
Pyros?
obviously these are functional playable cards. Like I would never pick the Watcher over a playable 2-drop, or playable 3-drop. Here I would probably like. You got a little bit of synergy with the Pyromancer. Like oftentimes, like Pyromancer backstab or Pyromancer
it's
Deadly
almost a
Poison
swipe.
can get your
Yeah.
way like a way to trade up with minions that you may otherwise not be able to. I probably would because you got something like even just like something like Pyromancer Betrayal can get you like really cute trades. Demolisher is an amazing 3-drop if you can protect it, and with
Yeah.
Rogue we have a lot of ways of protecting it with backstab and Deadly Poison and just getting ahead. Like if you're ahead, basically like if your opening hand is something like backstab 2-drop Demolisher, like that's the nuts almost. You just 2-drop backstab that 2-drop Demolisher hero power
Yeah.
to get away with that 3-drop. If
That sounds
and then
pretty
you
good
just,
to
like,
me.
From there on, you test Dingo to defend the Demolisher, and your opponent's like, he's pretty much gonna have to shoot removal into the Demolisher.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
he's just gonna get behind because your Demolisher hitting. Like if you go Demolisher on turn 3 and your opponent has an empty board, he plays a 3-drop. Well, if your Demolisher hits a 3-drop, that means you can just kill his 3-drop with your hero
Your
power.
hero
Like if
power.
he plays a Scarlet
Yeah.
Crusader or like any 3-drop with free health, like you just that suddenly your hero power becomes a card advantage engine just because of the Demolisher. We have a lot of 3-drops. We don't have a lot of 2-drops. Like I could flip a coin here. I like
Yeah.
the Pyromancer. I like the Demolisher. I probably feel like the Demolisher is slightly more like the dream to get value out of, and sometimes I just
Yeah, it's hard to
sometimes
set that
Demolisher
up.
is not playable on turn 3,
Okay.
whereas the Pyromancer is always playable on turn 2.
All right, let's get the Pyro then.
Yeah, I could take either one.
Ooh. Ugh. This ain't good.
Yeah, this is terrible, right? You look at the Voodoo Doctor, it's basically non-existent. It's just lose a kid. Basically, the Voodoo Doctor just says like,
It's a 2-1.
heal your
Yeah.
face, like, yeah, like heal a hero for 2, lose a card. Wisp is just straight up lose a card. I mean, actually, Wisp is, if you had to pick a class to use Wisp on, it is Rogue because it's a combo enabler. Like sometimes you look at it something like if you have an SI, if you have like 2 or 3 SI7 agents,
Yeah.
if you don't have the coin, like turn 3 Wisp SI7 agent is still like a power play. Like if you turn 2 hero power and then you have like turn 3 Wisp SI7 agent, that's
Yeah,
a reasonable opening. On the other hand, in this scenario, I just picked the Bodyguard. It has terrible stats for 5-drop, but it's gonna 1-for-1. Like some people laugh at it, but I'm the way I look at it is like if your opponent turns 4 Yeti and the board's otherwise empty, Bodyguard is probably a 1-for-1. Like
Yeah,
that's it.
it's a
Like,
decent chance.
It doesn't have
It's
to
a
do
decent
anything.
chance.
It doesn't have to do anything else. Like not every card has to be a 2-for-1. Like you can't. Some cards are just there to trade 1-for-1, and that's
Just
what
to keep
Bodyguard
up. Yeah,
does.
just to keep up, right?
The the only threat of it is that your opponent can oftentimes kill it with much less than you 5 mana. Like that's where you run into trouble.
Right. I mean, it's like 5/4/4/5. It's pretty terrible.
Yeah.
All right, Defias Ringleader here.
I probably would because of the back. Like I mean, I probably would over the Walken. Not close. We have 2 5-drops already. I feel like I'd pick the Ringleader most of the time, but I don't like having that many in my deck. I like them a little bit more in Arena than Constructors, but I don't. I'd probably pick it because it is like Ringleader coin. It's still a fine
coin
opening.
scrub is still really
what
good.
Do.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Ringleader coin, and then you backstab your opponent's 2-drop or trade into it or whatever. Here's a tough one.
Ooh.
It's between Sap and Fan of Knives. Like Fan of Knives overshiv every time, not close. But Sap versus Fan of Knives, I think that's kind of the thing that depends on the deck. Like you saw that earlier Mercenary we didn't take. Like if I had a Mercenary, I'm going to start valuing Sap a lot because just protecting Mercenary with Sap is good. On the other hand, I really don't want more than 1 Sap if I don't have a Mercenary. Like it's a great tempo play to do once. But that's where you have to be careful about running out of cards, right? Like if you end up sapping twice, you're probably in trouble unless you're literally beating him in the face with a 7 damage minion every turn you're sapping.
Right. I mean, not to mention, it's like it all depends on where you sab because you know, depending on where you sab depends on how the size of the minion you play with it too, right?
So I'm probably taking the Fan of Knives because it's a card cycler at worst. It has synergy with the Pyromancer later in the game, possibly.
Yeah.
You can clear out Divine Shields and just like there's sometimes people play like a guy with a Divine Shield and you're just like, well, yeah, gotta attack.
We got
into
Blood
that,
Knights,
like
so
4 damage you don't want that, and it's like, well, just Fan of Knives.
All right, we'll get that.
Or they have like a 1 health minion behind a taunt. And you're like, how the hell am I gonna kill that? Well, Fan of Knives.
Okay, here we go. So
probably unstable ghoul never in this, and even less in this deck, right? We want to be aggressive early. We want to play a lot of minions with having them around. We have a lot of minions with 1 health. We really don't want the ghoul. We pretty much don't want to play the ghoul. So yeah, it's like a Warlord.
Yeah, the Warlord's pretty good.
Warlord is pretty good. I mean, the thing about the Warlord is that you have to be prepared to play him as a 5/5 or even a 4. I mean, even a 4/4 sometimes. But like the scenario where if you have like just constructing a scenario, like if you have 2 minions, and let's say you have like 2 minions on both sides of the board, just to make it easy. Even if you have 1, but you have like 2 minions on both sides of the board that can trade out, and you have removal for your enemy minions in your hand, and you have a Frostwolf Warlord in your hand. The correct play is almost always to Frostwolf Warlord for 6 and trade them out.
Right.
If you don't have a Frostwolf Warlord, oftentimes like you end up burning your removal to protect your minions. But like I see sometimes like you get burned. Like sometimes I see people do this thing where like they play the removal to kill the minions. And when I say I see people, I see myself do this thing where like you play the removal to kill the minions because you're looking at your hand and going like next turn I can play this like double 1-drop for double 3-drop.
Yeah, trying to set up a combo.
Like an 8 health Frostwolf Warlord.
Yeah.
It's like no. If your Frostwolf Warlord is a 6/6, just play it.
6/6 is good. A 6/6 is a pretty good value actually for 5.
Exactly.
So.
If it's a 5/5, sometimes just play it. Like that's the thing.
We'll go with that. Okay, so we got a smaller drop here. Very dry.
I mean, immediately I do not like the Jungle Panther. Let that be said.
Okay.
Basically because it has 2 healths. Like the turn where you open, basically like imagine you play against a Shaman or Warrior and you open Fairy Dragon Panther. You're pretty much deathly afraid of Cleave or Fork Lightning at that point. And even if it's not Fork Lightning, if you go like turn 4 or 5 Panther and you have like a couple of other minions with a low amount of health, like Lightning Storm, like just so many things that like just make the Panther die as a byproduct of like it's just not. I do not like playing the Panther on turn 3.
Right.
The only time I really do is like if I have Dark Iron Dwarfs, then I can play the Panther on turn 3, Dark Iron Dwarf on turn 4, trade into Yeti, but that's about it. We have a little bit of a value with the Rogue because we can like Hero Power turn 2, or maybe get a hero, or maybe even Hero Power turn 4. But you have a situation where like you play the Panther turn 3, and you can at least Hero Power into the Yeti to kill it with the Panther, and it's okay. Fairy Dragon Mad Bomber, I love the Mad Bomber in the sense that I love doing the play where your opponent plays a 2-drop. Like if you have the coin, don't coin something out turn 1, your opponent plays a 2-drop, you bomber, 28% chance to kill his minion. If it's only 1 health minion, then you get 70% chance to kill it. It's just a nice way of gaining card advantage.
Okay.
Fairy Dragon, since we want to be running the board early and have minions on the board, I probably value it a little bit higher than the bomber on Rogue exactly, because if you play something like a Ringleader, then suddenly we don't want to play the bomber. Like,
right, it just softens everything.
There's a lot of openings where we don't want to play the bomber, whereas the fewer early minions I have, the more I value the bomber. Like that's a situation where cards change value depending on what we're trying to do. If we're trying to run the board early, I'll take the Fairy Drake. If we're trying to clear the board early, I'll take the bomber.
All right, so we're taking Fairy Dragon here.
Yeah, I probably would.
Okay. And
But I could see the Panther depending on the curve, and there's the Shield Master not
yeah,
close,
this is
right?
like not a no-brainer there. Ooh, here we go. I mean, Stampede and Kodo's amazing.
Kodo not close.
Yeah,
like,
pretty amazing.
Kodo is. I'll pick Kodo over. I'm trying to sort of like I don't do tier lists. So I'm trying to sort of have an internal ranking. Like I'm trying to like when I think about like where I would rank a card, I'm thinking of what I would pick it over, and I pick it over like most of the time I'll pick it over like an Argus Commander, for example. I'll pick Kodo over.
Argent Commander, okay.
I rank it pretty much as one of the highest
lot.
5-drops in the arena because it's always again it's like the taunt thing. Like everyone has a taunt in the arena. Everyone has a minion with two attack or less. Like this is something. It's always something.
Guaranteed value there. All right, so do we get a second Assassinate here, or do we go with the Scarlet Crusader?
Probably. I think the only time I'm picking the Crusader there is if. I mean, I think you gotta go with the Assassinate. It's just too much value. I mean, Crusader, if we really, really have like the perfect early game, I'll take it. And I mean, Stormwind Champion Overlord of the Arena pretty much always.
All right, we got a decent amount of cards with Battlecry here, so Weblord probably sucks. Stormwind Champion?
I don't even like the Weblord when I have 0 Battlecry. I don't like it. At best, if I'm playing the Weblord, it's basically with the intention of like having a bad early game and hoping it either interferes with my opponent's early game, or if I get forced, like let's say I'm playing Druid and I just don't want 2-drops. Like I have a lot of late game big taunts. I just want to get through early game. I don't want to pick early game minions as avoidable. Sometimes I take it and I'm like, well, maybe it'll stop my opponents from playing a guy, and then I can trade it with the hero power.
Yeah,
but I'm pretty much feeling terrible about it every time I pick it. I don't.
All right, so Stormwind Champion here.
Yeah.
Yeah, seems to be the best one.
Not particularly close.
Ooh, what's up with the Hungry Crabs? Damn.
I mean,
Captain doesn't do much here. We do have no, Defiance isn't. Shoot.
I mean, one of these minions one of these cards give a card advantage. The other two loses card advantage, right? I mean, not close.
All right, so big game here.
Yeah. Also kind of happy it's Big Game Hunter, not Blood Knight, because if it was a Blood Knight, we'd probably still take it.
Yeah.
Because more chance of having it in the opening hand, but much better to have both, like the Big Game Hunter and the Blood Knight, than 2 of one of them.
All right, so Assassins here? I mean, we have a lot of 5s, but...
Assassin's Blade is like the card I like exactly one of. Like, I mean, you have to be careful. Like, so you look at this and you're like, oh, we have a lot of 5-drops. Should we take the 6-drop? Well, going up in the curve doesn't solve mana curve issues. Like, you have to think of like, your 5-drops can also be played on turn 6, right? So taking the Archmage doesn't actually make our curve any better.
Yeah,
it just makes it look prettier, but it doesn't actually make it better.
Yeah, I hear you.
So Assassin's Blade, easy, like, has synergy with Deadly Poison, works great on its own. I don't like having more than one, but I will have another Deadly again.
Yeah.
Stone Skin Gargoyle, I understand that even less than the other Gargoyle.
Like, it's only makes sense if you get like a powered shield on it or something.
You play that and you buff it, and now you have a buffed minion that heals every turn, and in actuality your opponent just silences it and doesn't care about it.
Or gets Stampeding Kodo, which is even worse. Okay, how is Concealing Arena? Is it bad?
Terrible.
Terrible? Okay.
It's well, I say that, and I should not say that, because imagine you play something like if you may play like something like a Boulder Fist Ogre on turn 6, like just concealing it so your opponent can't remove it. Like, it's a way to get to lethal, but I would probably never take it over. Like, Wind Fury Harpy is not good either. Like, you're playing like Wind Fury Harpy is basically a worse version of Slaughter the Arena unless you're attacking. Like, it's worse than Slaughter the Arena until it's your turn again, at which point it's probably dead, and your opponent's just gonna take less damage trading into it, and he may just ignore it and kill you. But with Rogue, we have a lot of tempo, so we probably afford it. Like, there's a good chance that we can play this on an empty board. Like, maybe we turn 5 the weapon to clear the board, and then we can win Fury turn 6.
Yeah,
I'd take it, because it'll probably at worst be a 1-for-1. But the problem is it'll be a 1-for-1 with something that costs less than 6 mana.
Yeah, definitely.
But it'll win a game. Like, I look at it like, this is the kind of card that'll just win a game out of the blue, and that's fine.
Okay. All right, next up. Let's see. 4 drops, 3 drops. 3 and 4s are still pretty. 4 we don't have many, right? So.
Exactly. It's like one of the few times where I look at it as a curve play. Like, I prefer playing the mechanic like, I'll play the mechanic over the Worgen, even without thinking about the curve. I'll play the Silvermoon over the Worgen. I don't know if Silvermoon versus Worgen is close. I don't think Silvermoon versus mechanic is close. I honestly think, like, it's one of those situations where, like, I just flip a mental coin and pick silver moon, one of the 4 drops.
Right. Okay, we'll just get Dragonling then.
Yeah. I mean, you can
It's a little bit harder
for the
to
divine sooner, but it
Oh, that's
really.
true. But actually, Silver Moon with Blood Knight would have been
It
a little
never
bit better.
works that way. Like on turn 4, your opponent's gonna take a divine shield off before your turn again.
That's true. That's true. Everybody will ping it, right? All right, Assassin's Blade. You only said one of it, but look at these other choices.
Yes, exactly. Like sometimes this is what I call a forced choice. I mean, you don't want to play. You don't even want to play the Torn Warrior. On, basically, you look at a card like Torn Warrior. You don't even want to play it on turn 3. Like the best value for Torn Warrior is probably late in the game, where maybe he'll just stop like an 8/8 from hitting your face. Like that's kind of what you're hoping to do with him. Basically, like you don't even want to play him early. He trades poorly against most 3-drops. Like
he does, but picking another Assassin's Blade. I mean, you'll never get to swing 8 times with an Assassin's Blade. So is it just purely for a probability of getting it, I guess?
Exactly.
Once.
It's
okay.
It's like now you have high. Sometimes you get screwed with 2 in your deck. Sometimes your opponent has an ooze. Like sometimes it goes Assassin's Blade a swing, ooze, Assassin's Blade kill ooze. Like that is the line of play that happens.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I guess Al here.
Of course, you're not happy because you trade a 5-drop for a 2-drop, so like you're losing tempo, but you're playing rogue, so you're just by virtue of being rogue, you're gaining tempo, so you're happy. And here you probably take the silence because again, silence can buy a card. Like when your opponent goes 2-drop, like if your opponent goes Acolyte of Pain or anything that says draw, death rattle, draw cards, you can just go silence it, and you denied your opponent. You trade like anytime you can silence a card draw from your opponent with the owl. You effectively like traded your owl for a card. Like that's pretty much that's great value. And sometimes you get through taunt for win. That works too.
Exactly.
Probably take. I
like the gnome.
Close between abusive and gnome, but I think I take the gnome.
Yeah, I like the gnome.
We have. It's kind of like this is like I mean all games, most decks, most like strong decks in card games center around the idea of some amount of cards that draw cards.
Yeah.
Some amount of cards that uses the drawn cards to gain tempo advantage. We have like the Deadly Poison, the backstab for tempo advantage, so we can afford having some cards that draw cards.
Yeah.
Argent Squire.
I like the Argent Squire.
Argent Squire is an amazing card on any hero power where we can attack or plink for 1. Like the only times I don't like Argent Squire is when I'm playing Warrior, Priest. Actually, a Shaman I like it because I'm spawning. Like Shaman and Paladin I'm fine with it because I'm spawning something. But anytime where like if opening Squire hero power is bad, then don't pick the Squire. Blood Knight makes the value of Squire go up because now we can turn 4 Squire Blood Knight. Maybe
or you can even turn 2.
Shield out, you can Squire Blood Knight.
Yeah.
No, now you have a 9/9. You can turn 1 Squire, turn 1 Squire, plan to coin into Blood Knight is definitely a realistic opening. Gotta be careful if you're against the guy who can plink it with his hero power.
Sure.
But pretty much like if Squire into hero power is not a good play, then I don't like the Squire. As long as Squire hero power into hero power is a good play, then I like the Squire. And this on Rogue, Squire into hero power is perfectly acceptable way of killing your opponents to a drop.
Yeah, and still keeping the 1/1. Yep. Okay, so going from there. Wow, another. I want 3 assassinates, do we? Jeez.
I mean, the only problem with this is that it gets a bit heavy on turn 5 plus. But on the other hand, if you get 1 minion on the board, like imagine a scenario where you just have 1 big minion on the board. The problem is we didn't take the mercenary. Like, see, now we're kind of regretting more and more not having that mercenary because if you play a big 5-drop, it's a big minion. If you have like 7 damage worth of minions on the board, like your opponent plays a big minion, you assassinate. Your opponent plays not a big minion, you assassinate. You won the game on 2 like
I hear you.
Just chain assassinating off your opponent's big drops late game will just win you if you otherwise have an advantage on the board. The downside to assassinate is if you're behind on the board, then you're likely just trading a card for a card and taking face damage doing it.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's a card that works with tempo. Rogue is kind of built-in tempo. I like it. I don't mind having 3.
All right, so let's take 3, and then this is the last pick, guys. Okay, Azure Drake, God, another 5. We have so many 5s.
I wouldn't. Yeah, but see, this is where you look at this and you say like we have so much 5, but what we really have is a lot of things that cost 5 mana that aren't necessarily played on turn 5. Like Assassin's Blade are not necessarily played on turn 5, though they might. Assassinates generally they might be. Like your opponent might play a 5-drop you want to assassinate, but honestly like they could be at any point in the curve and you're gonna play them on the appropriate turn. So I like to look at this and like I really wish they like just talking about like suggestions for Hearthstone. I really wish they would have a addition to the mana curve.
Yeah.
That sort of has like a blue bar going up like like sort of on top of the other one. And there's like a blue or some red or whatever color they want to do.
Just total mana, you mean?
Yeah, no, that is just minions. It
Oh,
just shows you the
minions.
amount of minions you have with a different curve, because you'll see we don't actually have that many minions that cost 5 mana.
Oh, you mean
And
okay,
out of
yeah,
the
that's-
minions we have
yeah.
something like a Frostwool Warlord and a Kodo that's not necessarily even a 5-drop. So if you actually if you had a curve that showed just the playables on each turn,
Right.
it would look much different. And I kind of wish that the game would support a way of showing the
Okay,
amount
so
of
there's 4.
playables on the turn you have. That could
Okay.
be kind of neat.
Right. So there's 4 right now.
Yeah, I
so
would take the Drake here. Like yes, I mean, you look at this curve and you're like, yes,
Right.
it's not optimal, but that's not what you're doing in the arena. Like your curve is like a result of what the game says you must have.
Right.
Sometimes.
Okay. Well, there's the deck, guys. It's pretty darn long, so I don't think I can actually fit it on my overlay, but we'll try to fit it on, and we'll try to play through it a little bit later on my stream today or tonight. But we're running out of time. But why don't we take like maybe 1 or 2 questions, and then we'll call it a day. I know a lot of you folks. What?
It's a reasonably successful rogue deck with just maybe a...
Yeah. What's your guess? What's your guess on
it's-
prediction?
It's missing the SI7 agents, which is always like, that's what you hope to get. Like when you play rogue arenas, like the SI7 agents are the big ones.
Yeah. True.
Most of the games you're going to win are going to be like Blood Knight, big game hunter value are going to carry a lot of games. There's probably like, there's going to be like, this is the kind of deck where I look at this and I go, honestly, like I'm kind of hoping for 6, because you're just going to have
Shit.
opening hands where you don't have enough. Like you want opening hands where you can go 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop, and then a bit of backstab and a hero power somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I don't think there's quite enough 2-drops and 3-drops to make that curve out. Look at the 3-drops. You have a Razorfen Hunter and a Harvest Golem.
Yeah.
Those are the only 2 cards that are playable on turn 3. Of course, Deadly Poison is a pseudo 3-drop, right? There's a lot of 3 turns 3 where we go like Hero Power, Deadly Poison, so we kind of have 4 3-drops, and that's kind of okay. We have a 1-drop. This is great both for comboing. Like we can turn 3 Squire Ringleader for some value. We have a couple of 2-drops. Like there's things that can work. It's definitely not a terrible deck. It's just missing that one big bomb for the Assassinates to carry through. Maybe like, but actually the more I'm talking about this deck, the more I kind of like it. I think it actually might perform pretty well.
Okay, well, I'll definitely report back to you what I end up getting, and maybe we'll even post the video of it. But let's take some questions before we take off here. Let's see. Lots of you guys have been tweeting them, and we'll try to get to a couple of them, and we got to go. It says, okay, so Dat Freaky Camel asks, what is Bob's average arena win percentage?
I don't like to embellish myself and say something that I'm better than I might be. I track my win percentage, and I have an Excel sheet somewhere. I track my win percentage way, like, that's probably 3 months old data by now. When I started out doing the Twitch draft, I was tracking my win rate versus the Twitch drafting win rate. The Twitch drafting win rate was just about 71, 72%, and my win rate was not nearly as big a sample size, but pretty much the same. It was pretty much converging towards the same. Like I was sometimes up in the 73, 4%, sometimes I was below 70%.
Okay.
It's just thereabouts. Arena has probably gotten a bit tougher because there's
more people.
How soft the arena is depends on the influx of new players, right? Like
Yeah.
you're not gonna have, but also I think maybe I gotten a bit sort of more free in the arena, like in the sense that I just don't try every run to make a deck that can go squeeze out all the wins. Like I was talking about this about before the stream. Like sometimes I will speculatively pick something, hoping to get a deck that goes 12, as opposed to say always pick the cards that are going to give me that extra win, just to try and win one extra game. Like sometimes I'd rather fail spectacularly than say just kind of do averagely every run.
Well, it's the best way to learn too. Like if you keep playing the same way all the time, you'll never learn new things.
But I feel like cautiously about 70%. I don't think I promised too much.
Okay. So another question: out of 10 runs.
And again, like I can maybe try. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Just finish.
I was just saying, like, if anyone had, like, I don't know if there's any of the tracking programs that are actually worth using. I haven't really used any, but maybe I could run one. I could see what it actually is now. Because I'm even curious what my win rate is.
So what do you think? There's another question. Out of 10 runs, how many runs do you think you get to 12 wins?
Out of 10?
Yeah.
Let's see. I do 2 or 3 runs a day, and I think I get a 12 win every 2 or 3 days on average. It's probably 1 in 10. I think it's about 1. I think 1 in 10, but there's
It's pretty good. It's not easy these days.
I have a lot of runs. I have a lot of runs that go like win, loss, or something like win, loss, loss, and then like rattle off 8 wins. Like you have to. The arena is very swingy. It's very easy to be on a huge heater in the arena and think like, oh man, I'm winning 12 wins every 5 games, like every 6 games.
Right.
And then sometimes you go on like a cold streak for like 4 days, a week or something without a 12-win run. Like I had probably had a week without 12-win runs. Like I'm sure I had a 20-game streak without winning 12, plenty of times. And then you go on like win. I mean, my best records in terms of streaks is I had a triple 12-win run, like back to back to back.
Wow.
Like 12 wins 3 times
Nice.
in a row, and I had my biggest individual hero win streak I can think of is I had a 21 win streak with Shaman. Like I did 12 wins, 12 and 0 with
12?
Shaman, and
Wow,
then followed
okay.
by 9 wins. Then
21.
spectacularly losing 3 games in a row, but yeah, that's like some of the highlights.
I mean, it's pretty rare, though. Like streaks like that.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've done back-to-back 12 wins. Like, yeah, I can probably count them. Like probably 5, 6 of them.
Yeah.
Not that many.
Okay. Well, that's,
I mean, I'm
that's
playing
still
the
really
arena
impressive,
less
man.
now. Like, I'm sort of exploring the streaming. I'm streaming some Heroes of the Storm and stuff. Like, other games are distracting me, so I'm not streaming so much arena.
All right. Well, I think that's about all the time we have today. It's been real fun, man, and it's definitely a pleasure. And like I said, you're definitely one of my favorite
I like questions.
streams right now. Yeah. Let me see if we have. Actually, we don't have any time. Unfortunately, I gotta get going here. But again, thanks for coming on the show. And
I would like to point out then that I try my best to answer all questions in my stream. Like if you have any questions about the arena, or particularly like if you watch my stream and you have any questions about the plays I make or the decisions I make, sometimes I get into this mindset of not explaining everything because I explained it 200 times before, but I try my very best to answer all Hearthstone related questions in my stream in the chat. And if you write Bob somewhere in your question, it's highlighted on my chat overlay, so that there's a higher likelihood of seeing it. So if you say like Bob, blah 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 blah, question mark, then I'll probably, I don't know, give you a 50-50 shot.
He does a great job, of doing that. And
if I don't answer it right away, try asking 10 minutes later. I get distracted.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
So definitely check that out. You got, again, like the bot that you have running in your chat, that actually allows you to do a lot of this interaction is so good. I need to pick your brain a little bit sometime about it because, again, like I just like the interactivity you have on your stream when it comes, especially with the arenas, and that's why it's one of my favorites. There's a lot of great arena players out here, and like in our community, and for sure I'm gonna, I want to have them on the show eventually. Guys like Trump, obviously, who's been I think in the channel, and Hafu and Crib and those guys. But having Bob on here has been, was a real treat though. And again, because I just like watching your stream just because of that interactivity. So again, thanks for coming on, bud. And if you have any shout outs or thank yous you want to do?
Nothing in particular that I come to my mind. I mean, if you want me on another time, definitely, I'll be game.
Awesome. Yeah, go definitely follow him on Twitter, guys, at Guardsman Bob, and his Twitch is twitch.tv/ it's just Guardsman Bob too, also, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And just definitely check him out. He usually streams like right about now, right? During the day.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Pretty much when your show starts is when my stream starts. Sorry, I'm choking on my tea.
No, it's okay. It's okay. So even more, definitely even more appreciate that you're taking time out of your stream to do this. But guys, tune in for the first time. You can find the VODs on youtube.com/ChanManV and pretty soon after the show. I always post them there so you guys can check it out. Everybody's always asking why my VODs on Twitch are sub only. It's because I put them up on YouTube for free. So you can check those out immediately, and not immediately, but right now part one's already uploading. So you can probably find that in about 10 minutes or so. And you can follow me on Twitter at ChanManV. Obviously, this channel, if you enjoy this show or Value Town or not Deck Wars, but any of the other shows Unfiltered, you can follow this channel also. I think that's gonna be about it, guys. Deck Wars is tomorrow on the Machinima channel. It's gonna be Savitz versus Dark Wanix, and then of course Value Town Thursday with Trump. I don't have the guests quite lined up yet, so I'll announce that a little bit later. But yeah, fun times. Arena on Pro Corner. Really enjoyed it. Hope you guys enjoyed it too. And we will see you next week. Later.